All right, Truth Seekers, I am back. As promised, a continuation of this horror story that developed because of this orange bastard Donald Trump invaded Arlington National Cemetery, where this son of a bitch has no reason, none, to be there. There should be a congressional order, a law passed that says Donald Trump can't come fucking near a national cemetery where military personnel are buried. Anyway, as this scandal, this horror that he committed against dead people, as it gets deeper and deeper, his campaign co-manager and senior advisor, this asshole is listed, a creep named Chris LaCivita. Old Chris is lashing out at the Secretary of the Army, Christine Wormuth. Yeah. After the Department of the Army issued what is referred to as a rare yet stark rebuke of the Orange Bastards' campaign efforts to politicize the cemetery, where, as I remember, almost 500,000 service members are buried. Now, Secretary Wormuth is the first woman to become Secretary of the Army. And the Trump bastards and the Orange Vomit himself have been attacking women constantly. Literally, Trump's conviction for the E. Jean Carroll rape, and figuratively, the way he tries to demean the female judges who have been overseeing the filthy bastard's trial, and now Kamala Harris. So, again, the cemetery official who filed the report that she'd been verbally and physically attacked is a woman. And, of course, the orange filth himself made a sexual and sexist attack on Kamala Harris just this morning. The Guardian described it as a lewd and crudely misogynistic comment originally posted by another Truth Social user. I mentioned this yesterday. And on Wednesday, Wired published a story titled, quote, "The Trump campaign's rhetoric about women sounds a lot like Andrew Tate's," end quote. Now, you know who Andrew Tate is. He's in jail right now. I think he may have been out on bond in Hungary. I think it's Hungary. It's one of the Eastern European countries. He and his brother are a couple of just the worst kind of white males ever to have existed in modern times. These people insist that he and his brother insist that women are inferior beings. They're only good for screwing. They have no brains, no mind, no nothing. Andrew Tate is just a filthy bastard. I would like to take Andrew Tate, strip him naked, and drop him into a pit from which there was no exit except a door over there on one of the, it'd be a round pit. And the door would open and in would come 50 women, each one of them with a vegetable scraper. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know, that thing you use to scrape the skin off of carrots or what have you. And then Andrew Tate would face these 50 women with vegetable scrapers, and at the count of 0, 3, 2, 1, 0, they could go after Andrew Tate and do to him what you normally do to a carrot when you are fixing dinner in your home, right? And then when they're all finished, well, I'm not saying they kill him. They just scrape him. And then they walk over to the door and walk out. The door shuts behind them, and Andrew Tate lays there on the ground, whimpering. God, Malloy, you're sick. And then the door opens, and in comes a medical team. And they load him up onto a stretcher and take him to Bellevue if this happens in New York City. Wouldn't that be fun? They could put that on pay-per-view, right? Anyway, Wired, which is a news site online, Wired reported this, quote, as the Trump campaign overtly appeals to the manosphere, woo! A Wired investigation shows that the view of women espoused by the rapist and human sex trafficker Andrew Tate matches perfectly with that of Trump and his allies. End quote. Now, Chris LaCivita is a really ugly-looking fucker. I mean, I know I'm not supposed to make ad hominem attacks about the way somebody looks. Hell, when I get up in the morning, I have to cover all the mirrors until I've been up and about for about 15 minutes for fear I'll see an image of myself. But he is an ugly son of a bitch, Chris LaCivita. He looks like somebody that eats human flesh to me. He really does. But he is a strategist, used to be for the Republican Party, and now it's for the Christian Devils. And he's best known, he's the fucker that manufactured the Swift Boat smear campaign against John Kerry when Kerry was running for the presidency in 2004. And they and the term swift boating somebody now has entered the vernacular. It means where you go after somebody's military record and you try to demolish it. And this little fucker, well, he's not little, he's just another bloated Christian fascist. LaCivita was very effective in swift boating John Kerry. And now the son of a bitch, of course, is trying to do it to Tim Walz also, because of Tim Walz's 24 years in the Army National Guard. And you know what the point is, that this pig LaCivita is going after Walz? Well, Walz said he carried a weapon and he was in the military. He did carry a weapon, but they have twisted it now because of something that over a 24-year period, maybe Tim Walz actually said it, but what they're trying to do now is misconstrue everything that Tim Walz has said or done. And every one of these fuckers are cowardly son of a bitches who would no more go near the U.S. military than they would go near a goddamn wood chipper. So the whole thing goes back to Monday when Trump and some of his inner circle of neo-Nazis went to the Arlington National Cemetery to corrupt it. And they did a good job. The Army's statement about this, part of the statement, this is according to Talking Points memo, the Army said, quote, Arlington National Cemetery routinely hosts public wreath-laying ceremonies at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier for individuals and groups who submit requests in advance. Arlington National Cemetery conducts nearly 3,000 such public ceremonies a year without incident. And then the statement went on, that without incident. I mean, that is the difference between a normal human being and Christ Jesus God Trump. Because Trump, now convinced by these Christian mouth breathers that he is Jesus Christ's brother or something, Trump feels that he floats above every rule and regulation. After all, he's partly divine. He's like Caligula or Nero. I mean, he's just a sick fuck. But he believes what the Christian devils have convinced him to believe. He's special. Statement from the Army went on, quote, participants in the August 26th ceremony and the subsequent Section 60 visit were made aware of federal laws, Army regulations, and Department of Defense policies, which clearly prohibit political activities on cemetery grounds. An Arlington National Cemetery employee, to ensure adherence to those rules, was abruptly pushed aside. Consistent with the decorum expected at Arlington National Cemetery, this employee acted with professionalism and avoided further disruption. The incident was reported to the police department, but the employee subsequently decided not to press charges. Therefore, the Army considers this matter closed. End quote. But that wasn't enough for these Nazi pig fuckers who cluster around Trump. Now they're going after the Secretary of the Army. The statement from Department of the Army also said this, quote, "This incident was unfortunate, and it is also unfortunate that the Arlington National Cemetery employee and her professionalism has been unfairly attacked. ANC is a national shrine to the honored dead of the armed forces, and its dedicated staff will continue to ensure public ceremonies are conducted with the dignity and respect the nation's fallen deserve." End quote. Okay, if that's the case, Department of the Army, you tell this bloated fucking Donald Trump that he is not allowed anywhere within a mile of Arlington National Cemetery, because all he will do is what he has done to every institution, every tradition, every belief system, everything that is good and decent with this country. This filthy son of a bitch has corrupted it, polluted it with just his presence, much less his mouth. So, the Orange Bastards campaign on Tuesday edited the video image from the Arlington events into a TikTok video, complete with music and Trump's commentary as the narration. This filthy son of a bitch. And on Thursday, yesterday, he responded to the Army's rebuke by reposting that video. You see what I mean? He's such a corrupted son of a bitch. Anybody who's had any connection with the U.S. military, who would vote for this pig bastard, should hang their heads in shame. And the Orange Bastard wrote this when he reposted the video, quote, "Reposting this, hoping to trigger the hacks at the Secretary of the Army," hoping to trigger the hacks at the Department of the Army. And he could have tagged the U.S. Army's account, which would be at U.S. Army. But instead, this filthy little rat, La Civita, targeted the Secretary's official government account, Miss Wormuth. So there have been, as you can well imagine, a lot of anger, outrage about what this pig bastard did and the Nazis around him. The journalist Mike Rothschild, an expert on conspiracy theories, who has testified about that before Congress, he wrote, quote, "The Trump campaign has spent the day beefing with the Army, Arlington National Cemetery, and firefighters. What American institutions will they beef with tomorrow? Astronauts? Kool and the Gang? Bald eagles?" End quote. The point being the obvious. Now, the reference there to firefighters is when he addressed the National Firefighters Association or something a couple days ago. They booed him. Or was that that was that slimy little fuck, the pretend hillbilly. That's right. He got booed. But the Trump campaign was booed by people who put their lives on the line every time they respond to a call for firefighters. I don't care if it's in downtown Atlanta or midtown New York or in the goddamn wilderness somewhere where a massive forest fire is burning. They respond. They put their lives on the line while these slob Nazi son of a bitches that cluster around Trump do nothing but sit on their padded asses and make these snarky comments. I'll say it again. Anybody with any connection to the military. I mean, I don't think, you know my feeling, I don't think anybody with any goddamn brain should vote for Trump for anything. But in this heated political environment, anyone who has a connection directly, indirectly to the U.S. military who would vote for Trump is siding with people who treat your relative or yourself or anyone in your family or your circle who has been involved in the military. You're treating that person with utter contempt and disrespect. And you're agreeing with Trump that they're losers. And when they get any kind of praise, these people who come back wounded or minus a limb or two or in a fucking box. Oh, my God. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.